Guys, I have spoken and I will continue to speak on the law of unintended consequences. I am not for where I think we're going. We have 46 counties, and yet everything's coming from one of them. I asked our librarians, how many of these books do we have? Last night at the Telegraph Club, we have 2 copies. It was acquired on 5/19/2022. It's been checked out 3 times by the same student. I then started looking at the law. We talk about 1615-305, and it's always C, because it is the explanation of terms. So I looked at B, and B2 says, the average person applying contemporary community standards relating to the depiction or description of sexual conduct would find that the material taken as a whole appeals to the prurient interest in sex. I looked at number 3, B3. Not to the average person, but to the reasonable person. The material, there it is again, taken as a whole, lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. I can't, in good conscience, after having done my own autopsy of what we have. And ma'am, I totally agree. I'm not standing on the side of porn. However, I can say that it ain't as big an issue in District 56 based on what my librarians have said that it seems to all of a sudden have to be. The thought was getting students to read and understanding that children don't come from a cookie-cutter world. We talk about poverty in South Carolina, 60-some-odd%, well, in Lawrence County, Lawrence 56. But right now we are like 80-some-odd% of our students free and reduced lunch. And it's our job to educate all of our children, to give them the very best hope for a future that they can build something around and not have to run themselves. So yes, she said there were these books. She said, and we did, we take them off because you hold command and you hold the throne committee. You do. All that I can say is that for us, 5 I know about, 5 I don't know about. We don't even have them. But I'm not sure we're shooting at the right target, or if we're shooting, whether our rangefinder is accurate.
This board, and I think every person in this room, is trying to do the right thing for the state of South Carolina and for our students. I'm grateful for the encouragement to disagree and to speak up in this. I don't think these books are being pushed on students. We've heard time and again personal stories of how those books spoke to the lived experiences of young people, how they helped them better understand their lives. And having access to these books, I think, easy access in school libraries, not through Amazon or harder measures. Having access to these books, I think, could possibly save lives, help children and young adults to understand their journey. Looking at these texts outside of the arc of their full stories is a mistake, in my view. I think we're doing a disservice to our schools and libraries and our communities. The illuminating, I think the loving thing is to not remove these books and encourage a better way forward for this process to play out. The librarian at my local high school, she's been there 20 years in that role. She's retiring at the end of this year. She said over those 20 years, she could count on one hand the number of times a parent had come to her with an issue. Each and every time, she said, they came to an amicable and respectful understanding of how they would proceed with their children and these books. A system and a procedure that worked well. I've heard from several of our board members and they have noted how this is not quite playing out like they thought it would, this process. I just feel like we need to talk more about this process now that we have seen it over these last few months play out.
What I have heard is that there's an abundance of concern regarding the fact that a lot of these challenges have come not just from one county, but in particular from one person within that county. These decisions should reflect the communities, the sub-communities, and what those values are. I am concerned about potential abuses of a process that we intended to be fair and equitable. And I'm not certain that that's happening. And so for that reason, I'd like more clarity.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone consideration for another time of this action item.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed likewise? Very good.